Good morning. My name is Brijgopal Bharadwaj, registration number 17BCE2399, and today I am going to be talking about my project Content-Based Music Recommendation using Bayesian Reinforcement Learning. So let's first analyze the name itself. My project, as you can infer from the title, is mainly comprised of two main modules: the Bayesian Reinforcement Learning module and the content-based part that aids the reinforcement learning module to provide the music recommendations. So let's first analyze what the reinforcement learning part is about, and then we'll come back to the content based part later. So let's begin with the most obvious question: what is reinforcement learning? So basically, reinforcement learning is the method to train an agent based upon the reward it receives from the environment according to the state changes it makes from one to another. Now, how do we apply the same concepts for music recommendation system to a user? Here, the agent is our system, which is trying to model the user preferences. That means what the user does and doesn't like. So in order to do that, the reward it receives from the user is basically the interaction that the user has with the system. So the agent or the system tries to minimize the abandonment. We define abandonment as the condition where the user does not interact even with a single recommendation that is being produced by the system. So how does this happen? In order to facilitate the system to learn the user preferences, we use an algorithm that is known as Thompson sampling. But before we discuss about the Thompson sampling algorithm, it is essential to know what is the explore-exploit dilemma. Explore-exploit dilemma is the choice that we have to make when we are given a solution space, and we need to choose whether we should explore the solution space or we should exploit the best solution that we already know about. Thompson sampling is an algorithm that tries to answer this question. How? Thompson sampling says, take a beta distribution. Beta distribution looks something like this. It has two shape parameters, alpha and beta, whose values can be varied accordingly. Its input range is from 0 to 1, and this is the probability of obtaining each value between this range. So what Thompson sampling says is that randomly sample numbers from the beta distribution and identify the choice that has the maximum sampled value. This will be the new recommendation to the user. If the user provides the reward for this recommendation, then in that case increase alpha by a small quantity. What happens if we increase the, as you can see right now, each value between range 0 and 1 has equal probability, but as I increase the value of alpha, notice the graph changes in a certain way that the values that were less than on the lesser side of the input now have lesser probability of appearing in comparison to the higher values. On the contrary, what happens if the user doesn't interact with the recommendation? In that case, increase beta by some value. And when I increase the beta value, you can see that the graph changes in the opposite direction now. The values that are on the lower side of the input range have a higher probability of appearing than the values on the higher side of the input range. This is how the beta distribution changes its shape based upon the input parameters. As you can see, as I increase the value of alpha, the graph shifts towards the higher values, whereas when I increase the value of beta, the graph shifts towards the lower values. Now, how is this useful in solving this explore-exploit dilemma? As the system keeps progressing and shows recommendations to the user, the values of alpha and beta are tuned in such a way that after some time the graph remains constant, and where it becomes constant is the value for which the user gets the user provides the maximum reward to the system. So for example, in this condition, if there are n number of choices, then after some time the alpha values will be set in such a way that it will always be more probable for the choice that the user is again and again engaging with to appear. This allows us to tune the system in such a way that only the recommendations that are liked by the user appear again and again when the system has been running for quite some time. But the Thompson sampling has its own drawbacks. What are these? Thompson sampling is designed to work only in the single play and stationary scenario. What do I mean by that? Assume What happens if at a time the user can choose more than one recommendations that are being shown to him? Or what happens if as I keep playing the game, the probability of receiving the reward changes itself? What, like in the case of music recommendation, the reward might change because the user's preferences about the songs may evolve over time due to his age, the viral songs that are present at the time, or his mood factors. So these are the things that need to be considered by an ideal music recommendation system. So that's why we are not going to implement the core version of the Thompson sampling. Instead, we are going to go with two modifications that were proposed separately, and we are gonna combine them to obtain a new algorithm. Now, what were those modifications? So the first one is the discounted Thompson sampling approach. This algorithm tries to address the non-stationary behavior by including a discount factor for each recommendation that is being made. What it does is that instead of just plainly increasing the value of alpha or beta, it multiplies them with a constant discount factor that is between 0 and 1. So that means it's a fractional value. What it does is that as and when the system keeps evolving, the effect of the older values on the new recommendation is decreased. This allows the system to evolve over time in accordance with the evolution that the user is experiencing. This allows us to implement the Thompson sampling in a non-stationary environment. Also, the other algorithm is the independent bandit algorithm. The independent bandit algorithm works in the condition where instead of choosing just a single object from n number of recommendation, the user is given the freedom to choose more than one. The way we allow this to happen is using multiple instances of the Thompson sampling algorithm. That means suppose we are having n number of recommendations, then we at the same time maintain n different implementations of the same Thompson sampling algorithm, which each have their own parameters that need to be tuned. As and when the system keeps evolving, all these coefficients are updated simultaneously in accordance with the algorithm that is presented here, and this is how we use the same algorithm for a multiple choice scenario. Now let's see how we have implemented these two algorithms in our code. This is the landing page of our music player. It asks us to select the directory where the music files along with their metadata that will be discussed later is stored. So it's gonna take some time to open it as it loads the data, and then this screen is shown to the user. As you can see, there are multiple playlists that appear on the top, and there are some options on the sidebar. Now when I click on one of these playlists, you will be able to see the songs that are present in it, along with a brief summary about the characteristic parameters that are being maintained by the system in order to recommend them. Let's look at them. So as you can see here, these are the coefficient values. Let me just pause that. These are the coefficient values that are being used to present the recommendations. Now let's discuss what these values are and how they are being updated. This is the kind of data that the system maintains in order to recommend different playlists to the user. As you can see here, there are two main fields. One is the playlist section and one is the slot section. The playlist, you can assume them to be these individual album covers that you can see, the photo of a DJ, the headphone, the guitar. These are attached to each playlist, whereas this is slot 1, this is slot 2, this is slot 3, this is slot 4, and so on. When I hover on them, you can see this is the position number 3, but the playlist that it's showing has the index 5. So these are the two main axes of our data, and for each cell in this table, you can see a pair of alpha and beta values. These are the values that are being used to generate the recommendations. This is in accordance to the independent bandit algorithm that we discussed previously, where for each choice that we have, the system maintains a new instance of the Thompson sampling algorithm, which in turn has a set of parameters that you can see. So for example, for the playlist 4, there is a new Thompson sampling instance that stores the values for each slot individually. Now what happens when for a given slot, say slot 1, playlist 8 is selected. That means if I go to slot number 1, then upon hovering on it, you will see the playlist number 8 here. In that condition, if the user interacts with the playlist, then the value of alpha and betas will be changed in such a way that alpha will be increased, and on the contrary, if the user does not interact with the system, then the value of beta will be increased. This is how all these values will be tuned such that the user's preferences are modeled by this matrix. Also, since we are integrating the discounted Thompson sampling algorithm into the independent bandit algorithm, these values are subjected to change and evolve over time, irrespective of what the decisions were made in the past. So, this algorithm will be able to evolve along with the user and model his preferences more closely. Let's see this in action. So, as you will notice here, the current session number for the music player is 1. Now, I'll come back when I have played with the system a bit and the session number is increased, so that the system gains some data about what my choices are, and let's see how these values change then. As you can see, now the session number is 37, and now the values have changed quite a bit. This is because the system is now trying to analyze what I like and don't, and where should it place the content. So currently I have selected the playlist number 5 with this album cover. As you can see, it does not think that I should be shown this playlist on slot 1, whereas it is quite probable that it should show me this playlist on slot number 5. So this is how we can track how the system is behaving and which slot is being preferred more, or which playlist is being preferred more in a given slot. Now let's see how these playlists were generated in the first place. For that, we'll need to deep dive into the Python code that performs the clustering analysis and the principal component analysis over the various content-based features that were extracted from the audio content of the files. Why is this necessary? This is because all the recommendation systems suffer from the cold start problem. The cold start problem is the situation in which the system simply does not have enough data to produce viable recommendations. In order to solve that, what we are going to do is perform the clustering analysis on the data, and now I am trying to identify which are the songs that can be clustered together to form the new recommendation. Let's see that in action. Now, before performing the clustering analysis, we need to extract the content-based features from the audio content of the music files that are considered in the dataset, so that the further operations can be performed. So this Python script does exactly that. It defines a function called extract feature, which takes the input of a absolute path to the directory where all the songs are stored. After that, it uses the library Librosa to extract various parameters of the song, such as its loudness, its timbre, its quality, its pitch, its harmonics, such kind of stuff. And once it computes all these values for every single file in the dataset, as you can see, we are iterating for each file, it stores these values in separate vectors that have corresponding names. And once for all the songs the process is completed, we extract all these vectors and integrate them into a pandas data frame. This data frame is then exported to a CSV file, so that it can be used by the next Python script that is going to perform the actual clustering analysis. As you can see, this is the CSV file that contains all the data. Here, these are the song names, and these are all the content-based values that were extracted. You can note the labels for each of these columns, and once all these values are computed, now we are ready to perform the final clustering analysis on the songs and see which songs can be grouped together. This is the Python script that accepts the data along with for each song along with its content-based feature values, and it standardizes the data present in this data frame, and then it performs a principal component analysis to reduce the dimensionality of the data. Once that is done, we perform clustering analysis and we identify the number of clusters that will be suitable. But as you can see, the graph does not show an elbow. This is because there are many variations in the songs, and the data set that we chose for this project was quite large, and thus the songs were of every range. That's why it is necessary to just identify the neighbors. We are not explicitly interested in the boundaries between the cluster and how far apart they are. Rather, we just want to find out which songs can be coupled together in order to produce at least some level of with some level of accuracy the recommendations that the user might be able to might prefer. Once we do that, we extract the cluster data and we export it to a JSON file. This JSON file is then read by the JavaScript code that was shown earlier previously in the music player part, and that is how the playlists are being identified, and then the recommendations process starts with some previous knowledge about what the user should and shouldn't be recommended. So to conclude, in this video we discussed about our project content based music recommendation using Bayesian reinforcement learning. We discussed about the two main modules of our project, namely the reinforcement learning part and the content based feature extraction part, that were working together in order to provide viable recommendations to the user. We had a look upon the reinforcement learning part of our project that uses the concepts of reinforcement learning and Thompson sampling, along with some modifications that were introduced using the discounted Thompson sampling approach and the independent bandit algorithm, and we saw how the music player that was developed as a part of this project integrated the two algorithms together to overcome the problem of the implementation of Thompson sampling only to the stationary and single choice scenarios. We also saw that the player worked quite effectively, as we could see the progression of the coefficient values in the beta distribution plots given. Also, we saw that the player was having a acceptable interface design and had a quite pleasant user experience. After that, we saw the content based part of our project, which aimed at extracting the feature values from the audio content of the file itself and not relying on the metadata, and these values were then used to perform principal component analysis to reduce the dimensionality of the data, and then a clustering analysis to identify various songs that could be clubbed together in order to suggest viable recommendations to the user that would not look random. So thank you for listening to us, and hope you enjoyed our presentation. Thank you.